this is the next episode of Across the Pond. On the side of the Yanks, it's I, Thinker. And on the side is the side of the Redcoats, it's Stu.
Hey, I like to be 40. Keeping this side of the empire going, as they say, right?
British are coming. The British are coming. Wow. Yeah, it's funny how we repelled the occupying force, the invasion, whatever you want to call it, during the Revolutionary War. Then you get the Beatles. Oh, it's the British invasion! Yeah, and we all lose our heads. And now in modern times, I mean, shoot, it's royal this, royal that. You know, I mean, everybody in the States seems to be obsessed with everything British.
Yeah,
I offer no explanation for that.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, it's great. Okay, it's not a bad thing. I think Hugh Grant and Harry Styles probably have a lot to contribute towards that. And
Elizabeth Hurley.
Every Bond villain, every villain in every film is always British, right? In American films, anyway.
Even you get Star Trek. You know, during the Next Generation. I mean, most of the people that were on Star Trek were talking with some Commonwealth accent going on.
Yeah, the Federation, right? It's just basically the British Empire in space. Just joking, but no, I know it's weird, isn't it? How?
Hey, maybe the British Empire in space could take on the Galactic Federation.
Oh, can we talk about that today? Seriously,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
I want to talk about that and some other things,
but absolutely. I've been calling this episode of Across the Pond Thinker and Stu's Holiday Misadventures. So one thing that I do know for certain is that we don't necessarily know what's going on the other side for the holidays. Some things are the same, some things aren't quite the same. And so I thought I would take this time to do a little bit of being a holiday ambassador and giving you the same opportunity. And I'll ask you some questions about the holidays in the UK that I know that I'm not entirely up on. And then you could do the same with me about the holiday stuff in the US. And we could just
caveat this though. I'd like to caveat this as I didn't see all the questions that I was supposed to ask. So my questions may not be as well researched as yours, but they will be good questions.
Oh, mine wasn't researched at all. As soon as these are questions I had, and I never thought to have an opportunity to ask anybody that could answer them. So I was like,
I don't know if I can even answer them.
I'm recording with Stu, so why not?
and you expect me to answer them? I mean, like in any great detail? I mean, Wikipedia may be my friend tonight. You never know, but we'll see.
We'll see. And we'll go back and forth. I'll ask one, then you can ask one, and we'll do 3 of those each.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and start. And the first question that I have, and it's actually something that was posed whenever I was talking to the ladies from that Trophy Wife Life podcast last week. What in the hell is Boxing Day?
Well, it's very interesting you asked that. So, and you're throwing that to me for this first time I've ever heard this question. So this hasn't been researched at all. So Boxing Day is another bank holiday that we have. So most people get in the UK will get Christmas Day and Boxing Day off. It's a public bank holiday. There's supposed to be some origins in, and I did a quick Google search this the other day, actually today, incidentally.
Actually, before you dive into that, you know, for anybody that's not from the UK or any of their Commonwealth countries, aka if you're in the US, a bank holiday. It's just a holiday. They call it a bank holiday because the banks close, but it's just a holiday. There's nothing special about it. So
yes, we have many of those.
Yes. Demystifying some British terminology here.
Yes, sorry, a public holiday. Is that a more appropriate term? Is that what you call it? A public holiday, or yeah?
Well, there's federal holidays and state holidays in the U.S.
Oh yeah, you have those. Yeah, of course. Yeah, federal and state.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this is the equivalent of a federal holiday, I guess, then in that sense, right?
Okay.
So basically, everyone gets additional days holiday. There are some origins around this being part of giving the holiday off to people that would deliver the boxes, either the postal service and people like this as additional holiday, because obviously they deliver. Sorry, Father Christmas delivers in case any kids, but then the people that help Father Christmas deliver, just in case kids are listening, deliver this to the people's houses. So yeah, it was traditionally given off back then. I'm sure people will shoot me down not knowing the full origin story. I think it dates back to about the 1800s, or maybe further. But it's a holiday that's given to most people in the current Commonwealth as well. And some people have it on different days, but typically it should follow, and always does follow, Christmas Day. Incidentally, if Christmas, so for example, if Christmas falls on a weekend, so either Christmas Day or Boxing Day falls on a weekend, then the following next working day. So if Christmas Day and Boxing Day fall on Christmas, then the Monday and Tuesday. So let's say Christmas Day falls on a Saturday and then Boxing Day falls on a Sunday. Monday and Tuesday would usually be have off. You'd get an additional day off work to compensate for that.
Well, and you know what? That's some forward thinking that the British are doing, because if Christmas falls on a Saturday or Sunday in the States, there's no guarantee that you get the next day off from work, depending on where you work.
Mm-hmm. So this year, for example, Christmas Day is on a Friday, Boxing Day is a Saturday, so we get the Monday off.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
so I'm sure that's massively defied the whole thing for everyone listening to this. So I feel like I've done a really terrible job there. Sorry if you're expecting a full origin story. Had I'd seen your questions before this podcast, as I should have done, I would have come up with a really long researched answer. But that's the best I can do at short notice, only finding out literally just now. So
that's fine. That's called the personality of Stu. All right.
Lastminute.com.
So now that you have answered my first question, it's time to turn the tables.
Okay, so I've got an actual question about this. So obviously you have Thanksgiving dinner, and that's traditionally turkey, and it's traditionally some other dishes that I wasn't really aware of people have as well. Does Christmas dinner feature the same sort of items that you would have on Thanksgiving, or is it a traditional? What is it actually? What is a traditional Christmas dinner in America? There you go.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a perfectly valid question. And while Thanksgiving dinners tend to be the traditional turkey and stuffing and all that kind of stuff, what you end up having around Christmas, most people will tend to do the same meal. But some people, it's different though, and you don't really get even regional traditions there. You really get more family traditions whenever it comes to that. Like for my family, for instance, there's really not much of anything specific that we do for a Christmas Day meal, but for a Christmas Eve dinner, we end up having tamales and Mexican food. And I know a lot of families that do that. I mean, heck, I even saw it on Facebook with some of the people I know near me. It's like, oh, it's tamale season. So nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Tamales are good. Me personally, I do prefer not to have the same meal both times. It seems redundant to me.
Okay, yeah, because it seems it seems that some people seem to think that when I spoke to some people, they think that put more emphasis on the Thanksgiving sort of meal, as it seems much more of a much more of an American kind of tradition, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sort of celebration, I guess, whereas Christmas is sort of a worldwide thing. Do you think that's the
Well,
case? Do you think some people hold Thanksgiving in higher stead than, say, Christmas? That's kind of like a second question, but I'm going to go with it still as being the first.
well, it's in the long run. I mean, you're right. Whenever you think about it, Thanksgiving is more a holiday that's centered around the meal, and Christmas is more a holiday centered around the gifts, right? So, but yeah, I posit very often that the U.S. is too big for its own good. We would do better in smaller chunks, and even in that respect, that's another place it would be easier just for there to be smaller chunks of countries, because there would be more definitive answers for questions like yours.
I have some good questions now.
Okay. Have I properly answered your first question?
You have properly answered my first question. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. Question two, and I'll go ahead and ask first again. Um, so in the U.S., there's kind of that demarcation point, bringing up about Thanksgiving and Christmas, where the holidays really kind of start around Thanksgiving. Now, granted, people are going to have different opinions of where the holidays start. Some people like Gab Smash would probably say Halloween is more where the holidays start. I don't know. But I do know there's plenty of people that say, don't you dare even try to play a Christmas song before Thanksgiving is over. Don't you dare try to put up Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving is over. Don't you dare put up Christmas stuff in the store before Thanksgiving is over. So we have that demarcation of where Christmas season starts. Is there anything that marks that in the UK?
Well, if you look at the shops, Halloween is kind of the if you look at the shops, so like the second that Christmas Day is over, right, literally, or Boxing Day has happened, they're already putting Easter eggs up in the shops. Seriously, it's ridiculous over here. It's like, give Christmas some time to be over for thinking about Easter, right? Seriously, I saw Easter eggs on like the day after Boxing Day or something like that. It's just like, that's crazy. In the UK, usually it's Halloween, and the second that Halloween's over, Christmas stuff's already out on the shelves, right? In terms of like sweets and Christmas cards and all that kind of stuff. So from a demarcation point of view, in the shops, people are already thinking about Christmas, because that really is the next big thing. There isn't really, you've got maybe fireworks night, so you might have Guy Fawkes night.
Guy Fawkes night.
Guy Fawkes night. Yeah.
I know plenty about Guy Fawkes night. In fact, we've got to take a slight detour. We've got to take a slight detour to talk about Guy Fawkes.
Okay.
We've got to, and so, and I think this story actually, I don't know how many people in the U.S. know the story about Guy Fawkes, but I think it would actually resonate with people in the U.S. at the moment. And since most of my audience is infosec people, I'll go ahead and tell you this right now: is that Guy Fawkes, you're familiar with the Guy Fawkes mask, because that is the mask of Anonymous.
Yep.
So I think you already answered my question, so we don't even have to go back to the original question. But why don't you enlighten us with the story of Guy Fawkes and why he's an important guy?
Well, Guy Fawkes plotted to blow up Parliament. So he was involved in the plot of 1605. It was a failed plot as well to blow up Parliament, basically. And he was actually placed in charge of the gunpowder, and then of course he actually tried to blow it up, and he was questioned and tortured, and then confessed wanting to blow up the House of Lords, basically, or House of Lords, right? And then before his execution letter, He actually fell off the scaffold where he was hanged and broke his neck. So actually, he didn't actually get hanged slowly. He died nicely. But we celebrate Guy Fawkes. The whole plot around blowing up Parliament or House of Lords, whatever you call it, right? We actually celebrate that on the 5th of November, and that's the night that the plot happened. And the idea is actually that they actually burnt his effigy in a bonfire. So that's why we have a bonfire, although actually no one actually burns his effigy anymore. But we have a bonfire on the 5th of November, and it's always, remember the 5th of November, and it's a time to remember where people standing up against governments or independence, or also remembering that I guess that some people can have those kind of views, and we have freedom of speech, all that kind of stuff. He was actually due to be, I believe, hanged, drawn, and quartered as well, which is the most painful way, because it's treason, right? And so anyone that was accused of treason back in those days was hanged, drawn, and quartered. So you were hanged until you almost died, and then you were stretched out on a rack, and then you were basically gutted in your stomach, up into your kind of navel, right up to your kind of chest cavity, and your entrails are hanged out, and then you were beheaded. Apparently the most painful way to die. So he actually,
and even you want to throw that on top of that, that's a way that William Wallace was taken care of too.
It was, yeah. Traitors. A lot of traitors were hanged, drawn, and quartered. So
and even after they were hanged, drawn, and quartered, some of them, the portions of their body were taken to the corners of the corners of the country.
I imagine that I don't know if his head was stuck on a spike in Westminster, but I imagine it probably was. So you can imagine that was actually, a thing, if that makes sense. A lot of times to kind of talk people out of it. So, but it's yeah. I don't know.
But wouldn't you say that it seems like people in the U.S. would be appreciative of that story? And by the way, please, nobody, if you're listening to this, I'm not advocating that you plot anything like that, because you will face similar penalties as Guy Fawkes. It's codified in the United States law.
Yeah. Don't do what Guy Fawkes did, basically. Yeah. There was some, it's one of those things, because he's still in this country, still a figure that's highly celebrated in terms of, we celebrate him every year, right? And a lot of kids don't realise that they call it fireworks night now. They don't call it Guy Fawkes night, right? It's like every kind of dark British history is kind of toned down to sort of suit the
toned down to be proper.
Yeah, the modern take on things, right? We can't celebrate some of our darker kind of traditions, but we still have fireworks every night, every year. Sorry, people have big bonfires and gather around. Obviously, this year there was actually all these things were banned, and there was a massive kind of outcry about people saying, why can't we celebrate these things? And a lot of people were kind of against it, because obviously it goes against the whole reason why we celebrate in the first place, right? So. Yeah.
Well, and it's like around here, with all of the no gathering with the pandemic. Whenever we hit July 4th, which is one of the standard fireworks evenings over here, I mean, shoot, there were tons of people that were having their own personal fireworks shows inside the city, whenever that was perfectly against the law, and nothing was done about it though, because they didn't have enough police to actually enforce it with however many people were doing it.
Actually, I just read something about this as well, just because I was looking into how his execution happened. And actually, we burn effigies, or we used to burn effigies of Fawkes, but actually it used to be a custom from the 1650s onwards was to burn effigies of the Pope at the time. So there you go. So it's kind of changed a little bit. So actually, the people were on the side of Guy Fawkes are burning effigies to the Pope, obviously, which led to his kind of his execution. But actually, it's quite interesting. But
Okay.
yeah, like I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but yeah, I
All
quite.
right. Well, my second question has been answered. My dovetail that I wanted, that rabbit hole I wanted to go down, we've gone down that. So, second question from you. What's your next holiday question?
Oh yeah, there's something I want to know about. I read about this a while ago, and I still don't know what the hell is a Christmas pickle.
Oh, I still,
And
you know
why
what?
do you why do you have a Christmas pickle? I mean, I know it's apparently is it like a German thing or something, or it's been adopted by you guys or something like that, or
I do not know. That was one of those odd traditions that I talked about with the trophy wives last week. Was the whole thing with the Christmas pickle and finding the pickle in the Christmas tree, and I don't know. I do not know. So you know as much as I do because you've probably already looked it up at some point, right?
well, I'd never heard about it. The honest answer, I've never heard about it until about a couple of weeks ago. I
Oh,
saw
okay.
something. I saw something about the Christmas pickle, and it made I looked into it a little bit. Um, but yeah, and ironically, I found something on whychristmas.com of all places, which I think is I don't know how the hell I came to this website, but yeah, it talks about the Christmas pickle being a very old German tradition, but it seems to be very much an American thing now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that would make sense because a pickle and a bratwurst are about the same shape, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
apparently
That's totally.
stereotyping there.
So sorry, that wasn't the intent of the comment. Oh,
Oh God.
okay.
But
Moving on.
okay, so that I haven't had an answer to my question. I feel greatly disappointed. I was hoping for a flurry of
I
backstory.
I originally thought that it was that it was a something that arose from the deep south. But whenever talking to the trophy wives about it, I found out that one of the trophy wives actually had a Christmas pickle thing with her husband's family, with the in-laws. It was the first time she experienced that. I'm like, well, that means the pickle has migrated to California. Um, so yeah, I you stumped Thinker. There you go. I really
I feel
don't
like I
know.
get brownie points for that, do I?
Brownie points it is.
I'll take those. I might use those points in another episode. You never know. Might call
Okay,
him my
okay.
Stu refuses to answer the question because he's got the stump thinker card. I'd like to use that card.
Oh, okay. We'll see how that goes. um, okay. Question number 3 then. And I've been referring to this as our holiday misadventures episode, but holidays isn't just Christmas. Holidays are plenty of things, and a lot of people in the States may think of holidays with Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's, St. Patrick's. And that's with the exception of 4th of July in the middle of the summer. Really, holiday season is around the end of one year, beginning of the next. But I know that that's not so in the UK. Um, so anybody listening or watching, which, by the way, if you didn't catch before, they will be watching this one too.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Oh no, well, that's another thing that you ended up missing reading. I
All right.
probably probably posted that on public timeline too.
So just watching me just like drink lots of water and stuff. I was thinking I'd get away with that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Or watching you like up here whenever you're leaning towards your computer.
Oh, right. Yeah, just doing this. Yeah, brilliant. That's great. That's awesome. I mean, at my hotel I'm staying in at the moment as well, which is great.
Okay, so everybody listening and watching, is probably familiar with a thing called Mardi Gras. Well, Mardi Gras ends up actually coming off religious traditions that lead up to Easter, which are more prevalent in the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church, the U.S. offshoot of Anglican being Methodist. You get more prominent celebrations, observances, and stuff like that because those are also the groups that follow the official church calendar, which means that you're in Advent right now, and Christmas tide is actually from Christmas Day on. So we're not in the Christmas season technically. If you're sorry, dear Archbishop of Canterbury, since I know that you're one of Stu's biggest fans and you listen to everything he does.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Pancake Tuesday. And
pancake day, as we call it in the
Pancake Day.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll find a video and just cut in a few seconds here, like right here. To show you what the whole craze even is. But what I've got to know is, Stu, have you ever participated in a Pancake Day race?
Many years ago, yes. Like when I was at university and stuff like that, we had Pancake Day races and things like this. It's different ways of doing it, but yeah, I did one where we had to flip the most pancakes in the shortest period of time. You had like 2 minutes. You had to make as many pancakes and flip as many as you can, and all that kind of stuff. Different people have different ways of doing it, or flipping the pancake the most times without it sticking to the pan. Different ways of doing it. I know they used to be quite big. I haven't seen many recently. I'm sure they happen.
Do you use a non-stick skillet or do you use like a cast iron skillet?
When I'm making pancakes, I will typically use a very thin, small pan, and like very low base, low side, so you can flip it. Actually have a dedicated pancake pan.
Ooh, how
very
British of you.
It is very British. I'm sure Americans have the dedicated like crepes. You have pancake makers, don't you? Or something like that, like little machines you make them in now. Or do you make them in pans as well? That's waffles. No. I'm thinking of waffles. Something completely different.
Whenever it comes to pancakes, all of this that are lower middle class and down, we make it in whatever skillet we got.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've got a really good recipe for American style pancakes. So my kids love American style pancakes. They prefer it over the small British ones.
Oh, there's American style versus British style. I did not know.
Yeah. So, because you use bicarbonate soda in the mix to raise them up and stuff, whereas we don't. So they're a lot thinner. Not like crepes, not like American crepe, like French crepes, but they're sort of somewhere between American pancakes, which is a little thicker, and the British ones are a lot thinner. So a pancake in the UK on Pancake Day is very sort of almost like a crepe in that sense. They're very thin, but not as thin as a crepe. So you can roll them up, and typically it's all about the filling. You see, on Pancake Day, it's all about the filling. It's because you roll them up, you have a filling. You see, so for me,
that's totally crepes right there.
Yeah, it's like crepe. They're like crepes. They are. I guess you can call them crepes, right?
Just call it a British crepe. There you go.
It's British crepe, yeah.
Okay, Gordon Ramsay would probably crucify us for that one.
He would, yeah. So, but Pancake Day is a big thing over here. Always has been, and so it's a big day. Typically, Pancake Day are usually served with lemon and sugar. That's the traditional way to eat it. So you have lemon juice and sugar. So everywhere, when you know Pancake Day is coming, you'll see little kind of Jif lemon. Kind of like basically like plastic lemons with lemon juice in it, or like lemon juice in a bottle and stuff like that. So
are we talking powdered sugar, refined sugar, turbinado?
Well, we just standard refined sugar usually. Okay. You can can mix it up, maybe a bit of caster sugar if you want to go a little bit fancy. That's traditionally how it is, but of course now these days it's anything goes. Really, people have anything. I actually prefer so banana and cinnamon with then lemon on top as well. It's quite nice. It's quite a
Okay.
nice filling.
Okay. And for anybody that's trying to think, okay, how does Fat Tuesday and Pancake Tuesday come together? The whole point being is that Fat Tuesday is the day before Ash Wednesday, which is the day that Lent starts.
Yeah.
Which means that you are giving up something for Lent, which often ends up being like richer foods and stuff like that is what has historically been a common choice there. And so Fat Tuesday was about getting fat before you had 40 days where you couldn't. So pancakes, basically you were carbo loading. You were doing as The Rock will often show on his Instagram, whenever he has his cheat day, he often has like cookies or a big stack of pancakes is what he shows. So yeah, that's where that comes into play.
And the British tradition, Shrove Tuesday, was very much about using up the dairy goods and the richer goods before you would go on a fast. So it's like a feast before the famine. But traditionally, like a lot of the common goods in the fridge would be like flour and eggs and milk. So pancakes would be a kind of richer meal you would make, or a treat you would have before then. And so, kind of that's why it kind of came about, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, I feel like I've had a satisfactory answer. So, on to your third question.
Oh yeah, you stumped me because I don't know. What eggnog? Right? I've never had eggnog, by the way. And people may look at me and go, "What? You've never had eggnog?" In fact, I was told by somebody today that I should have an eggnog latte because apparently it's the best thing ever. So mulled wine at Christmas time, mulled wine, love mulled wine. But I've never had an eggnog. What is an eggnog, and why does it exist?
Okay. Well, it is your back half of that question. I would have to do the same thing that you did on me on Guy Fawkes Day, and go and Google it. But from a standpoint of eggnog, I mean, eggnog is basically one of the more heavier dairy products you can get, and I mean, my gosh, if you're worried about overdoing, with something fattening or something overly sweet or whatever, if you're having a soda, um, man, eggnog, that's entirely, heart attack in a carton, heart attack in a bottle. If you just do the non-alcoholic version that you can get at any grocery store stateside. But eggnog actually, in its traditional form, is an alcoholic drink. So I don't know if you were aware of that or not, but doing
Yeah,
a
it's
bit of
alcoholic. I know it's alcoholic,
yeah.
but I've never had one. So
it's yeah. So it's also referred to as milk punch or egg milk punch.
okay, cool.
It's traditionally made with milk, cream, sugar, whipped egg whites, egg yolks, and distilled spirits such as brandy, rum, whiskey, or bourbon. And I believe the time I actually had an alcoholic eggnog, I believe it was, I want to say it was rum that was in there, but it's been long enough.
I mean, if I was to have an eggnog, it would have to have brandy or rum. I think. I don't think whiskey.
Probably the big thing though to know about eggnog is that eggnog is basically that alternate take on pumpkin spice.
Right.
It's the same. It's the same basic idea. It's creating that holiday flavor, but it doesn't have the kick that pumpkin spice will give you. It's more of a subtle flavor, but it definitely, if you were comparing pumpkin spice, gingerbread, and eggnog, you would be able to classify those as as Christmas flavors. That's the best way I can think to describe that. But definitely, without a doubt, it is it's, well, at least in the non-alcoholic form, because the alcohol will mess with the consistency. In its non-alcoholic form, it's thick. It's going to be thicker than whole milk. It's going to be thicker than heavy cream, but not by much.
Okay.
Not by much. But it's I mean it's yummy. If you it's kind of like gambling. If you let yourself get lost in how much you're drinking, you'll end up drinking your entire supply of it before you know it.
Doesn't sound healthy, but sounds wholesome.
It is nowhere near healthy at all.
No,
but it is wonderfully tasty.
There you go. So this year, I will, if I can find one, I will try an eggnog. There you go. There's my commitment today.
Okay.
If
All
I can
right.
find
So
one.
so we've hit our holiday questions, holiday conversations.
Probably got
we've got to come back around full circle to our InfoSec origins again. You had a couple of things that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so today it turns out that FireEye had been compromised, and they came out today and said that they'd been compromised and their offensive tools had been hit, potentially by inverted commas, a nation state that immediately was pointed at as being Russia. I'm saying inverted commas because actually it's not proven yet. But I guess if FireEye's attributed it as being Russia, then that's probably Russia, right? But what's interesting about this is that the narrative on Twitter already about people that are piling in, going, FireEye going after ATPs and they're getting hit, and it's kind of a sense of irony that, you know, if you go after ATPs, no one's unhackable, all this kind of stuff. And actually, what I actually like to add to the commentary for myself, my side of things, is it's good they've come clean. It's good they've come out immediately. They actually discovered it themselves, you know, so it wasn't like it was a third party or nation or another nation state that found it and reported it to them, or the FBI or whatever it may be, or whoever it may be, right? It's good they found it themselves, which shows that they are on top of their game, although this happened and everyone will get hacked eventually. So it's just a case of it's FireEye's turn this year. But I guess my question to you is: Have you read up on this at all, or is this quite new to you? Or
just very lightly. I read about it yesterday, just briefly. And I don't. I haven't really had really had exposure to FireEye, so it would be hard for me to speak to what it can mean itself to users. But the one thing I do know is that FireEye is fairly prolific in the market, and so it's not going to affect just a little bit of people. There's going to be a lot of people that have to worry about following that, making sure once FireEye is taking care of what they've found, that to make sure that they have followed through with getting the update, patch, and everything.
It looks like it was the red team tools that were compromised, but again, I haven't read too deeply into it in terms of I was sent a couple of GitHub repos as well to look at their Yara rules and things like this that they'd potentially hit and stuff like that, and they'd updated. I think without actually going into the weeds on this particular podcast because we don't have time, but I think I just want to say I think it was quite good that they came out the way they came out.
Yeah.
A couple of funny comments from people saying that at least the Mandiant instant response team didn't have to travel far and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was quite amusing. But I think it was ultimately a good thing. The way they handled it was very good, and you'd expect that from a company that does instant response. The Mandiant side of the business anyway, or the FireEye instant response side. they kind of use their own expertise to identify it, contain it, whatever they've done with it, and then pushed it onto law enforcement to support them. But I think they handled it actually particularly well, and I think there's a lot to be said about that. So, and as
Absolutely.
and you know, every cybersecurity company out there, it could happen to anyone, right?
Oh, of
Especially if you
course.
start poking the APT hornet nest. Eventually, I said something about this the other day. I said, you know, if you hunt APTs, at one point you become the prey. You know, so it's just one of those things, right? You're gonna, if you start poking around at those nests, someone at some point you annoy them enough that they go, well, it's okay, now we're going to turn our sights on you for a bit. It's
Yep.
just the nature of
Yep.
things, right?
Absolutely. And then, of course, the other thing that you keyed in on at the beginning of the podcast that you're like, oh, I want to talk about that too. The Galactic Federation has supposedly been in touch with the U.S. and with Israel, and I think probably um, the most woke comment that I've seen about that today is that there were people saying, you know, everybody was wondering why in the heck Trump decided that he wanted to create the Space Force. That timing is not too far off.
Yeah. I mean, I want it to be real. I so want it to be real. Seriously, it'll be a perfect end to 2020. But if I was an alien sort of galactic space galactic force, and I was looking at our planet at the moment, I'd be like, yeah, we're just going to stay away from them. They got germs all over the place. You know, they got their own problems. You know, 2020 is not a good year for them, and you know, maybe we should leave them alone for a bit. But um, maybe it's related to those random metallic objects that have been found around the world. Maybe it's the beginning. I'm
Maybe.
absolutely. Let's get my tinfoil hat on and start. Maybe it's no, but seriously, I mean, it's interesting that you know that this has come out, and yes, of course, it's not real. I mean, I'd love to think it would be. I'd so love it. I want it to be real. I've turned into Fox Mulder. I want to believe, right? But yeah, sadly, there's no proof that either way, right? But I mean, yeah. What do you think, Thinker? Come on, let's hear your opinion on it.
Oh, I have never been one of those people to attach to conspiracy theories at all. You know, I totally was, you know, what, like Star Trek, for instance. You know, I always enjoyed Star Trek, but I never really started attaching to, oh, Star Trek could happen until there started to be, you know, those lines of, oh, well, you can take this technology, morph it this way, do this, you know, and as soon as you could start actually drawing a line from point A to point B, okay, you know, I dove into that. I don't have anything to go from point A to point B in this galactic federation right now. So I'm just, it was my laugh for the day.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Like I said, it's not believable in any shape or form, but it does make you chuckle, and it's the
oh,
fact that
it's especially considering that, oh, they've only communicated with the U.S. and Israel. Yeah,
what about
okay, whatever.
biggest land masses? I can understand the US, right? But Israel, I mean, they don't have a massive
U.S.,
space.
Russia, and China, the three most
Yeah,
powerful groups on
yeah,
the earth right now.
and the three with space programs that they could probably reference in space, right? Um, you know, so yeah, it's okay, okay. So yeah, yeah, it just seems like a really random place for them to communicate with, right? I mean, unless the Israelis are not telling us something about their advanced space program and their communications they're doing in space. I mean, they are pretty technologically advanced,
They
but
are.
but yeah, it was amusing to me. But you know, I can see how conspiracy theorists would tie all this together. Though they'd be like, yes, the obelisks that are in the ground, that's the sign, and it's like we should do a whole session one day on conspiracy theories, seriously, because I hear some really great ones now and again. I'm just like, we should do that. We should do like a Mythbusters of Conspiracy Busters. There you go. There's a thing. Come on. There you go. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Just one episode. Let's just do that for one episode. We could just go and sit there and actually prove why the Earth is not flat. Just correct myself there until I said let's prove why the Earth is flat, and then everyone just drops off, right? Well, we can just literally bust all of the conspiracy theories, and then
the sound bite that everybody's going to take from this, they're going to cut it out where you just said the Earth is flat, and now they're going to cut it out for me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I knew we were going to go a little bit longer with this one with the holiday editions and the fact I didn't bust out the trusty timer.
Well, I was going to say you ruined it with a timer. You see, we should have said you've got a minute per question. That's it. Boom. That's on you. That's on you, Thinker, man. If the people listening to when are you going to end this thing? I said it's on Thinker. Didn't bring the timer.
All right. Well, that does it for our December edition. We'll be back in 2021 with Across the Pond.
Yes.
And we'll see if 2021 is cut out to be our savior from 2020 or not.
Well, as I say, we've only really had 3 months this year, so it's okay.
Hey, do you remember whenever the U.S. tried to start a war with Iran?
Was that a thing? Was that in 2020? I don't know. This year's just gone so. Really?
Yes, that was 2020.
That felt like a 2019 thing to me, really. But yeah.
So, all right. Well, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Stu drinking his water halfway keyed out.
Yeah. And by the way, apologies for any random faces that I pulled during this podcast because I didn't know we're actually doing this on video. There's lots of things I don't know today, clearly, but that was one of them. So you'll just see me do this. And there'll be lots of memes for you to create on Twitter, I'm sure. So it's fine.
And a lot of people like to create memes of you anyway. So
just another one to the list.
There you go. All right. Cheers.
Ho, ho, ho.
Let's prove why the Earth is flat.